Good therapist. Knows his stuff.
Most of those guys are solid.
Is he the one that's married to?
It's time for Two Guys and a Goalie with Dustin Nielson, Matt Kassian, and the goalie, Joaquin Gage.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Two Guys and a Goalie. Nielson, Gage, Kassian, Gage, Salas with you, all brought to you by our friends at Cool Bet Canada. Stay cool, bet responsibly. Chris Abbott, Canadian manager of Cool Bet Canada. He will pop by a little bit later on the podcast today. Boys, how's the week been, Gager? What's that on your shirt there, Gager? What do you got going on, buddy?
Like I was saying, Dusty, get the pens, papers. I'm gonna give you guys the pearls here. All right. So your guy's a little bit younger, still loves dad, right? Cass. I'm not gonna even get into what kind of trouble you have before you. My 12-year-old daughter. That's enough. You got 3 of that to look forward to. Forget about her. Hernan, I can point you in the direction of my vasectomy guy. It'll be fine. But so when you go for pictures at school, all right, you get that big sheet of your kids for pictures, and you get all those options. You can get, the 8x10s, whatever, but you can also get them on certain items. So mugs, stuff. I decide to go with my son in grade 2 for full shirts, knowing full well that I will need this one day. My son is now in high school, and when he acts up, I threaten. I drove him to school with this shirt on, and if he doesn't behave himself, I'm walking him to the door with this on, and I'm also waiting for him and asking every kid that walks by, hey, have you seen this guy? He's my son. I'm looking for him. Can you tell him I'm here? And you should see the change in behavior. He says that I will be looked like the fool, but that will live in infamy at Lillian Osborne High School if this is ever done. But let's just say my son is the most beautiful thing on earth right now, with behavior-wise.
Here's the thing, Gager, is that what he doesn't realize is you don't care if you look like a fool in that situation.
No,
that's the thing. It's like, I don't care. You don't care what people think of you in that. But you certainly are going to affect what people think of him, and that's the threat. So fantastic. I love it.
Exactly, boys. So just get it done. Get it done early. Put it in the back of the drawer, right? You don't want it getting thrown out. But I found this the other day and thought, yes, revenge.
Well, it looks like he's been a pretty good kid because that shirt looks like it's still in really good condition.
Well, I mean, I wore it around here or there just for a joke, but actually I don't think I've ever worn it outside the house. So it's made its maiden voyage out. We'll just we'll see when 242 rolls around, and if Daddy Gage doesn't look for Bodie Gage out in the parking lot.
Man, it's funny. There's nothing better than the school drop-off embarrassment. That reminds me of when I was very early in my broadcasting career. I was living here in Edmonton doing online play-by-play for anysportanytime.com of John Short ran the company. We did ACAC, AJHL. And I moved here. I didn't have a place to live, but my sister was going to U of A. So I moved in with her and her two friends. And she didn't have a car, so I had a car. It was a shitbox Ford Taurus, just not a good vehicle at all. I'd take her to the U of A, me being a Lethbridge Community College alum. I'd roll into the U of A, I'd drop her off, and as she's driving away, I'd unroll my window and scream at her and honk the horn and be like, pick you up after class, Cam. I'll be back later. It must have just drove her crazy. Just a piece of garbage car, this psycho yelling out the window. But it was fun. Big brothers can do that, just like dads. So it's good. Yeah, no, that's good. All right, boys. We've got lots to get to. Chris Abbott is going to join us. We want to talk about that hockey game last night, and Gager, that's what we got to talk about. So let's just start there, and we can dive into a bunch of different aspects of it.
Yeah, so watching the game, I was actually really looking forward to this game because of how the last game kind of ended with the Senators pushing, looking like a better team, getting better goaltending. I'm like, this looks like something that could be enjoyable again to watch. And boom. Just a snore fest. I mean, yes, the Oilers played well. The Senators it looked like a 3-ring circus with guys running into each other, not getting a save. But everyone talks about how that was good for the big guys to feel better about themselves and play well and get, score some points. Everyone's getting in on the score sheet, it seems like. But I don't think that's a game that the Oilers need right now. I mean, we saw after that last stretch against the Senators, kind of they had a little bit of confidence, but their overall play, I think, suffered just because of the ease of the game. I don't think it helps them at this time of year just to play the same team over and over and go up against a performance like that. The Oilers need to have some more battle-hardened games, I think, at this point of the year, to be able to compete when it becomes necessary in the playoffs. It was weird. The Oilers were winning and destroying a team, and it was great, but I felt like it was a game that's really unnecessary, and it could hurt the Oilers more than it could help them.
Cass, what do you think?
Yeah. I don't know, Gager. Like, part of it for me, they had some power play success. They had some dominance, and it almost feels like it helped get a little bit of the swagger back. Where that first game against Ottawa, there was still, I almost feel like there's some leftovers from that Toronto series still hanging around a little bit. And, just being able to go out and stomp on a team really helps just get that out of the system to be like, no, that was a hiccup. We can stomp on teams. And so I don't know. I'm not worried that it's going to make them lackadaisical. I like that they came out and they just dominated a team from start to finish and just pushed that Toronto series out of their minds. So I'm happy with it. I like that it happened, and I'm not as concerned as you about the maybe building complacency. I think it's exactly what they needed.
I'm kind of more with Cass. I get what Gage is saying. But if you look at their previous 2 games, they had to come back in the 30 against Calgary and hold that lead down. The same thing with Ottawa. The whole third period, they're only up 1 goal. And they've only really had 2 blowouts, the one against Calgary back on February 20th and this one. So I feel like the Oilers have played more tough games than the easy one. I mean, Ottawa 7-1. And I guess the big test is tomorrow's game, because Ottawa's going to come in and like just on fire. You heard their press conferences, Tkachuk saying it was just awful and embarrassing. So we'll see how the Oilers respond after it. So Gage might be onto something if they completely lay an egg tomorrow. But I'm kind of with Cass more, where I don't mind they have these games once in a while, because it's only been 2 this season. So I don't mind a blowout game once in a while to get the boys rolling. I
look at like you mentioned, Hernan, the past 2 games. I think more is built on those games, just because they had to do some incredible things to win those games. I think locking down a game and winning 3-2 like they did in that first game against the Senators, I thought that type of game is way more beneficial. I mean, I think there's a stat with the Oilers that in 1-goal games, they're one of the best in the league, or not, if not the best. But I was hoping that they would get another type of pushback game from the opposing team, just to build on the last 2, because I thought that those are the ones that were more important coming out of that Toronto series. I see what you say too, Cass. It's always nice to stomp on I mean, I go out to when I hit the outdoor rink against 7-year-olds. It feels great stopping them all. You know, it's awesome. But does it do better for my men's league play? No, right? So
That's why you've been cut.
yeah, that's why I'm cut.
This kind of ties into what I want to talk about. So let's just keep this conversation going. I think we got to talk about, McDavid and Draisaitl. Obviously, they're magic. I mean, when they're together, the way they were going last night, even though they didn't light the world on fire in that first game against Ottawa, they still completely dictated the play. That shift that they had last night was 20 passes in 52 seconds, and then that was just. It was Gager against 7-year-olds. Like that's what it kind of looked like. But I also they can do that against Ottawa. You also know that Dave Tippett doesn't want them together long term. So do you just kind of ride this thing for a couple of weeks and let them torch the league for a bit? Or do you say, let's get our other top 6 back in a game against Ottawa here and get that refocused here before going up against Vancouver and then Calgary a couple of times and then Toronto looming at the end of the month. Cass, where do you what's the lifespan of putting those two guys together to get them going?
Well, you ride it until it doesn't work no more. I think you go with it until you lose, and then you make an adjustment. If they're firing on all cylinders and dominating, you just need everyone else to be okay. And even yesterday, that Ryan Nugent-Hopkins line was just okay. Like it's not like they dominated at all. It was just that McDavid line just roll over top of everybody. And I don't think you want to do it long term. But here's the thing: like if you're winning hockey games and that's getting you up a couple of goals, if you're let's call it +2 goals per game, 5-on-5, because you're running with those two guys, like, is that really an issue? No, I don't think so. Everyone else just has to be even the rest of the game, and typically you're going to be fine. So you ride it here. I think you go with it against Ottawa, and then you start, with Vancouver and Calgary. Like same thing, you go with it. If you lose one, or if you all of a sudden hit a wall where the other team's defensive pairings or lines are playing really well against it and finding ways to shut them down, then you switch it. Like I think you're quick to switch it, but you go until it doesn't work.
Hernan, if you're getting some offense from the News, I know they got a goal from Neil. I mean, Murray was not good last night. Let's just say that. And then they got the 2-on-0 that Shore dished over for Jujhar Khaira. So they got some goals from other places in the lineup. But if the Nugent-Hopkins line, and I thought they were better last night than they were in the first game, but if they actually started to click a little bit, it really wouldn't be a rush to put things back to normal at all, would it?
No, not at all. And I agree with Cass. That line was just okay. I know JP hit a post there late in the third period. But give him another game. Why not? Like it's we always want Dave Tippett to give these lines a good look, not just one game or 2 games, and see what they can build. And the good thing about Draisaitl and McDavid is, when games get tougher, maybe in Vancouver or Calgary, and you want to split them up, you can always go back to it if you're down a goal or down 2 and try to get your team back into the game. So I think for now, in these next 2 games, if the Oilers can roll these next 2 games with that line together, like, man, the Oilers are going to bang some nice points where if you drop a game, it's okay. But I get why Tippett wants to split them up. And another interesting tidbit here is on postgame yesterday, we all thought Kahun was out because he was injured, but no, he's just a healthy scratch, right? So obviously he's going to have some shuffling to do here eventually to get Kahun back in. So we'll see what happens. But for now, Dusty, I'd keep that dynamic duo together. Like you said, we were at the game yesterday. We saw that shift right in front of us. So everybody just kind of looked at each other and said, wow. It was like the Globetrotters, man.
It did. You're right. It did. Gager, that was Globetrotter-esque.
Yeah, no, it's watching Draisaitl play with McDavid. It's fun to see him kind of just play. I think when he gets on his own line, and he's obviously a competitive guy, but it seems like he doesn't have to think too much. He's just kind of playing. And when he was struggling on his own line, it looked like he was trying to create a little bit too much from stuff that wasn't there. And when you're playing with McDavid, he's just such an artist out there, and obviously Draisaitl's a great player. He can just read off what Connor does. But again, I think maybe that goes back to Cass's swagger thing. With Leon feeling better about his game and where it's at, maybe when they do probably eventually get split up again, he'll have just a little bit more juice on his own line. So that's what I like about them together right now anyway.
I got a question for you, Dusty, because I know you'll like this one. It's a comment I brought up yesterday on the post-game show. Do you think Jesse Puljujarvi gets a little bit lost in this setup? Like, is he able to?
You watch your mouth, you son of a bitch.
It's a fair question because I think he does.
In what way? Like in the offensive zone, or
yeah, offensively, does he? Basically, is the grouping, so Ennis and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, does it fulfill what Jesse Puljujarvi needs from line mates to be successful?
It's a good question because I can see where you're coming from, but I also think he's been the best player on that line over the last couple of games. And maybe I'm being blinded by my bias here for him, but I don't mind the way that he's played, but I do notice him and Ennis kind of crossing paths a little bit that you preferably wouldn't want to see. So yeah, he's been locked in with McDavid and Nuge for quite a while here. And with Nugent-Hopkins in the middle as opposed to center, I mean, maybe Puljujarvi's adjusting a little bit there, but I do think he's the guy that's been creating the most opportunity on that line over the last couple of games. Am I on my own on that one or no?
No, I think he's the top guy. I do think the Nuge has another gear to get to that we haven't seen yet. Like that pass that he made to Draisaitl was unbelievable. Like puck bounce right back, kind of slick moving there. Like he's a great puck distributor, I think. But there's another gear that Nuge can get to, I think, that would definitely help that line.
Hernan, what have you thought of that group there?
Yeah.
Or what Cass kind of brought up?
Yeah, I mean, I thought Jesse was good yesterday. I mean, he had a little bit of the double A thingy going in his game yesterday where the puck was just kind of bouncing on him a lot. But I thought he had some good looks. And like you said, it's a new line. Let him gel a bit together with Ennis and Nuge. And was it Gage that said you need probably a little bit more from Nuge centering that line as well? So, again, I'd like to see him stick together for the next two games and see what they got, if they can generate some offense. And if not, then Dave Tippett can separate the big two and get the normal lines rolling again. But I'd like to see it together. And JP, man, I heard your hot take today. Like, his butt checks right now are awesome.
Yeah, he's using that ass like he's a young J-Lo in Love Don't Cost a Thing. Like, it's pretty impressive right now. Cass, you want to just, like, what are you seeing from Puljujarvi that you're thinking needs a little bit of an adjustment there or something?
Well, I just wonder if he's been positionally, if he's been as effective. So there's some opportunity he's created, like a little bit, but I just don't know if I'm seeing as much of it in the last couple of games as I was prior to. And maybe that's just McDavid, and maybe that's just my Puljujarvi bias coming in a little bit. But I just wonder if he's going to get a little, like, if this is a situation that continues, and if we don't see an improvement from Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, like, is this going to be a setup where Puljujarvi is going to have the kind of success that's just going to help him take that next step? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if the line, and maybe this just does need more time, but if the chemistry, and again, where I'm seeing him on the ice, like positionally, like where is Puljujarvi when they have the puck in the offensive zone? Mm-hmm. Where is he getting opportunities from? Is it going to be as beneficial or as good as it was before when he was with McDavid and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins? And I don't know. And it maybe a little bit unfair to even go there because you're not playing with McDavid all of a sudden. But it's just something that kind of crossed my mind yesterday. Even thinking through the game, like he does get the one opportunity towards the end, but that's towards the end of a 7-1 game. Like, yeah, I don't know how much stock I put into that. When the games were tight, in particular, did he or was he able to generate as much? And I don't think so. So I'm not like freaking out about it, but just something to pay attention to.
Yeah, you want those two guys to produce because that's the reason you have that line together, right? Like those are the two guys who are supposed to get that done. I can't stop thinking since we brought up Cahoon being healthy scratched, and it only has happened because his buddy is now playing with his other new friend, Connor McDavid. Like I imagine like Cahoon's the kid who grew up with this guy, then that guy went to university, and then Cahoon was like, I'm going to come to university with you. And he gets there and they get to hang out. And then when Leon gets to hang out with his cooler friends, you're not included at all. Like that's how I imagine Cahoon right now. That's a tough pill to swallow.
Oh man, yeah, that's you know what, Dusty, that may be the best analogy we've had in a while. Like that's a perfect picture of probably how he's emotionally doing in this moment.
Are you guys okay though? Are you guys okay with him sitting out though?
I don't hate it. I don't. Okay. I mean, he's a different type of player than Patrick Russell, so there's obviously a different. Yeah, Russell will penalty kill, play the right side for you. Cahoon's kind of just in a battle with Tyler Ennis right now, and they're giving Ennis the look. So I don't hate it. I'd like to see him with Nuge and Puljujarvi actually, just to see if it's different. But I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think we need Ennis there because he's a smarter player.
Yeah, he is.
Like Cahoon faster than Ennis, but positionally Ennis is a little bit smarter. And I think that's, if you're running with it on your second line, you take, you don't have Leon Draisaitl that just drives the play in the middle anymore. You have Ryan Nugent-Hopkins who's capable of it, but not to the same level as Leon, which is fine. I don't expect RNH to be Leon, but I think you go with a little bit of a smarter player there than the guy that just is an up and down the wing and sometimes runs out of position.
Where's Kassian fit when he comes back? Where would you put him right now? Just in where Russell was, essentially, I guess, for now? Ooh. Like, that's it. That's an easy one, maybe?
Well, he's a right shot, right? So, well, yeah, who knows? I mean, because if you're looking at
definitely going for Russell. Like, Russell doesn't do much. Like, that's an easy flip.
And then he can also replace, like, a Chase on O'Neill for whatever games, right? So,
do you guys want to replace Chase on though? Like he's, for
all
he doesn't do 5-on-5.
Not right now.
Really good on the power play.
Yeah,
not right now. Yeah.
Yeah, no, right now I would think not. All right, let's get to Hernan. What do we got to talk about? And then Chris Abbott will probably be by.
Yeah, on Tuesday's insider training, Pierre LeBrun said that the Oilers were interested in acquiring Eric Staal from the Buffalo Sabres, 36-year-old UFA at the end of this year, a guy that can fit that third-line center role. You can probably move JJ to the fourth, and then you have a nice group of centers. Can play in every situation, moonlight in your top six. He can probably play in front of the net on the power play on the first unit as well. He's a skill guy, right? Don't look at the points because if you look at anyone's point totals in Buffalo, they're pretty nasty to look at. But I just want to get the guys' thoughts on, I guess, what would it take? Because it's like Pierre LeBrun said, it's got to be money in, money out. And would he be a good addition to the Edmonton Oilers? I think so. I think he'd be a nice addition, and you just walk from him at the end of the season as a rental. But I'm intrigued to see what the Oilers would have to give up for a guy like that who's 36 years old and is a rental.
I've been thinking about this since it was mentioned. I don't think it's the best idea. It's kind of apples for apples getting him in. I think his best days are, but what can he do for you now? There's a lot of intangibles, I think, obviously with him that are more appealing than anything else. Just an older guy that's been around the league a long time. I think that's the biggest appeal to getting Staal, and the fact that he wants to go to a contender, so he'll come with that kind of desire, and we've always heard of his work ethic and stuff. But I don't know if it makes sense the comparing Jujar to him. I think as of right now, Jujar is playing the best he's ever played with the Oilers, in my opinion. So it's kind of apples for apples, and I mean sometimes those trades don't work out well. Like you gotta consider a guy coming in, taking a guy out of the lineup. By all accounts, this guy is really respected. sometimes you gotta think about what that dynamic actually does within the room where guys start coming in and out of the lineup too, right?
Cass?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. If their power play went dry, I think it's intriguing because he is a net front guy that can play the net front, bigger body, really really good finisher. So does he replace a James Neal type where he maybe has a little bit more juice than James Neal does? However, since he's a centerman, it is going to mess with your third and fourth lines a little bit, and that third line has been really, really good. So I'd be just hesitant to do that. If Jujar was still at a point where he was being really inconsistent, where we're getting like one good game, one really bad game, one good game, a game where he disappears, then I'd go, okay, you know what, you could maybe find some more consistency, and if you could do a money deal across, then maybe you look at it. But I just. Jujar's been really, really good. Like he has impressed me the last 3 weeks, really ever since he got that, let's call it last chance or second chance coming up from the taxi squad. Like he's been stellar from a position standpoint. He's been physical, he's been fighting, he's been scoring. Like he's been good at killing penalties. Like he's done a lot of everything really well. And if you all of a sudden reduce him minutes wise and even mentally, emotionally, like drop him to the fourth line, maybe change his line mates, like is he going to be as effective? And what does that do up and down the lineup, as Hernan pointed out? So it's intriguing to me. If I'm Kenny Holland, like I want to listen to that and see what's there. I don't think a dressing room standpoint overall, like Staal, his reputation precedes him as far as being just an absolute stand-up teammate. So not overly concerned long-term, but certainly, or like how the dressing room would respond. But certainly I think there's some short-term things that could be affected by it.
I think just quickly, Dusty, I think it's more of an upgrade, not on Kara, but I think they just want to upgrade maybe someone to come in and play over Haas or a Devin Shore, right? That play the center spot. Or Turris, sorry, yeah. Turris.
It's basically you're trying to find a guy who you wanted what Kyle Turris to do for you this year, right? If you had Kara and Staal in your bottom six of centers, I think you're in a decent spot, which is why if you're going to move money in and out, it's tough to find that. The only option that I've seen that's actually legit that's been texted into our show or popped up on Twitter is Kyle Turris and a draft pick for Eric Staal at half retained, because it's 3.2 for Staal, 1.6 for Turris. I mean, that's the way you can make it work. And from an Oilers perspective, I'd probably be willing to give up a 2022 pick to get it done, because then it also takes Turris off your books next year. And I don't know if you want 1.6 for Kyle Turris next year when you see what you're getting from him for this year. So like that would maybe be the framework for a deal. But outside of that, I don't know how they make the money in and money out work. But we got Chris Abbott waiting. We'll get to that. Eric Staal trying to get out of Buffalo. And maybe that's where I'll start with Chris here. If I had bet on the Buffalo Sabres every game this year, I'd pretty much be broke. Right, Chris?
It wouldn't be going very well for you, It's unbelievable. I actually thought that they might make a little bit of noise this year. And it seems like they've got, like, if you were to use them on, like, the EA Sports version, I think they've got enough, like, skill to be a decent team. But whatever happens, man, it never works. So maybe it's what's going on in the room. Maybe it's a coaching style. I don't know. But, yeah, it's never good in Buffalo.
Is there anything I can bet on trades where guys go? Does that pop out before the trade deadline as well, Chris?
Yeah, we'll do like we have for the NFL. What team will this guy play on next, right? And there'll be a list of those. So we'll as we get closer to the trade deadline, you'll certainly see some of those odds popping up. I don't think we have any up just yet. But yeah, you'll definitely see something along those lines. Any you're interested in betting on, Gager?
Well, I just wanted to see which team. Like, I'm looking at Taylor Hall. Maybe what team he's going to bring out of a playoff spot when he gets traded to him. I didn't know what those odds are too. So I'll wait a couple weeks.
Yeah, I know it's funny. There's obviously being here in Toronto, everyone's like, well, maybe the Leafs should get Taylor Hall, and like
do it.
I don't know. It would be great. I mean, it's so funny because the Leafs went from never losing again to never winning again. So it's really, really fun.
Hey, Chris, you're the expert here, and it's funny because there's always that one team in the NHL that you want to bet on, and you're like, no, tonight's the night. And for me, that's the Columbus Blue Jackets. I always, no, tonight's the night. They're going to light it up, and they always find a way to lose. Is there one or a couple of teams for you that you just can't get a read on in the NHL this season?
So I've watched enough Florida Panthers games to be like, I don't know about this team, man. And then I bet against them all the time, and yet they keep winning. And to answer your question, I've already made a bet for the Columbus Blue Jackets tonight. So, it's one. Yeah, absolutely, man. Like, so I've been trying to bet against the Panthers, and it hasn't worked out for me. Every time I bet on Tampa Bay, it doesn't work out for me. Like, because their odds are usually so big, you need them in regulation and they go to overtime or, whatever it is, you bet on them to win by 2, they barely pull it out. So I can't win money with Tampa, which is really, really weird. But then there's other teams that always get me paid. Like, it seems like Chicago's always getting me paid, especially with overs and player props. Winnipeg has been good because they're still getting disrespected, right? Like, they were plus 160 against the Leafs the other night, same number again tonight. So, I mean, just from a pure value perspective, the Jets have been a good play. And, man, I made a ton on the Oilers last night. I bet everything. I bet goal props, point props, first period to be winning, -1.5. I mean, it was great. It was glorious. It was absolutely
Screw
wonderful.
you.
But I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying.
I was on the Oilers in the first game, the exact same way you were, and I literally needed in the I had them at over 3.5 goals. They scored 3. I had Draisaitl at over 2.5 shots. He had 1 shot and missed a bloody empty net late in that hockey game. I had, the only thing I hit on was Oilers in regulation, but I was literally like one Draisaitl from McDavid goal away from going 5 for 5 on the night. It drove me crazy.
Me too for that game. And then I did it again last night. I took Draisaitl goal. I took McDavid goal. I took your boy JP, if you're wondering why he hasn't been scoring. Had him. and then I had Yamamoto as well because, I mean, that line looks like it's on the power play every time it's on the ice. I mean, I know it's Ottawa or whatever, but like the chances they're getting are just ridiculous. So as long as those guys stay on the same line, you got to load up on them every night because it's ridiculous.
You know what's funny? I had a buddy last night who had the one bet he made was Yamamoto getting a point in the Oilers game, and he was losing his shit last night because he's with that line and didn't get anything. He was just like, "How is this possible?" It was hilarious. That was
he
good.
Never got one last night. No,
I think he was held off. Yeah, he had no points last night for Yamamoto.
Man,
so
that's a bad beat for sure.
Yeah, that one stings.
But yeah, I've bet on Columbus tonight. It's so hard. I mean, I've been having more success with props and goal totals than I have with picking winners. But yeah, there's always that team, right?
That's more fun anyway.
What's the quickly, and then we'll let you go. What's the action been like on this Jets Leafs 3-game set?
It's great because the Leafs finally hit a little bit of a skid. Yet everybody is like, "Well, they're so good, they're going to keep winning." So people keep betting on Toronto, and then the smart people just bet on Winnipeg at a great price. So as we're talking, I'm just trying to bring it up for tonight. But it's been, like you would expect, people putting the Leafs in parlays and really leaving a good price for the Jets. So I'm just looking right now. Tonight, 86% of the money is on the Toronto Maple Leafs money line. Yeah, and about the same number of tickets. Like, nobody's on the Jets, which is absolutely crazy. And then everyone was betting Matthews goals and blah, 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 blah. But yeah, good money to be made on the Jets, boys.
Hey, stay cool and bet responsibly.
Here's the thing. Like, the Stanley Cup futures are live on our page right now. The Leafs are tied with the Lightning at plus 700. The Winnipeg Jets are 39-1 to win the Stanley Cup. So if you think – and same with Calgary, and I think the Oilers are 26. One of those teams is going to get through to the semifinals. Those are pretty good odds.
Yeah, we dove into that on the Lock Shop with Hustler and I, and we couldn't believe it. Like, Winnipeg being that much of different than Toronto is just – it's insane. If you're going to bet on the Jets to win the Cup, now's the time.
must have drove Hustler crazy to see that. He must have been personally offended.
He lost his mind. He was going crazy. Chris, as always, buddy, appreciate the time, man. Thanks a lot.
All right, guys.
Chris.
Thanks so much. Talk next week.
There you go. That's Chris Abbott from Coolbet Canada. If you're watching on the live stream right now, subscribe to the podcast. Just search Two Guys and a Goalie wherever you get your podcasts. You'll find us there. If you want to sign up for an account at Coolbet, coolbet.com. When you're registering, enter the bonus code number 2 and guys. So 2 guys, you get 100% deposit bonus on your first deposit up to $200. All right, Cass, what do we got to talk about, buddy?
Well, Hernan's got something he needs to say, so let's do that first.
Just quickly, guys, Ken Holland's meeting with the presser. He says cleft bump to have surgery at the end of this month, around the 25th or so. And then he also said on the RNH contract, pointed to the flat cap for the next few years and said it's a new marketplace. He'd like to have Ryan moving forward, but deal has to make sense for both sides. So just a couple big Oiler points there from Ken Holland's presser right now.
Unless he's going to Wakanda to get a vibranium arm. He's not coming back this year, so forget it.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see if he's ready to go for next year, depending on the level of this surgery. And the news contract, I mean, we can talk about that every episode for the next 2 months for sure. So good to know that no progress.
The one thing, I was just looking at the Masters on Coolbet, just some odds. They got Tiger Woods at plus 4,900. I thought you'd get way better odds than that with him, wouldn't you?
Don't doubt him. Don't doubt him, Gager. Tiger in a wheelchair could beat me at a round of golf. I'm not even actually, as sad as it is, he probably could, which is just embarrassing. All right, Cass, what do you got?
I want to talk about the NHL's new streaming/TV deal with Disney. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you guys saw, but Disney's coming out with a new Mighty Ducks show here in not too long, which is pretty cool. And now they just up their stake in hockey with a big TV deal. Not sure about the numbers and how much it makes sense for what the NHL is going to have to do with the rest of their TV deal, because there's still a big chunk of the regular season they need to find a home for moving forward. But somewhere reportedly between 2 and 2.5 billion. Great revenue bump here for the league. And what I really like about this deal is it's very focused on streaming. As we know, the cable world is getting tougher and tougher for not just watching sports, but just people in general. Like there's so many people in my age bracket and all of ours really that are cutting the cord, as it were.
What are you saying? Doing
a lot on streaming. So it's pretty impressed. Yeah, pretty impressed. Yes, sorry, Gator. Yeah. Not as many people using Shaw for the cable, using it more on the internets and the interweb side. But yeah, I'm happy they're being a little bit forward thinking with this, from where are we going to have a streaming market? How are we going to get everything that we have and get it out to people? So I like it. I think it's a good deal for them. Hopefully they can build on it. And I'm hoping just for the entirety of the rest of the season, because this is heavily focused on the playoffs, and they do have a lot of out-of-market games coverage too, instead of just going through NHL.com. But overall, a good job by the NHL to partner with a group that I think is investing heavily in the digital side and the streaming side, and I'm excited to see what it does just for spreading the game, and particularly in the U.S. from a marketing standpoint. It's a good move, I think. So I like it. Wanted to hear what you guys thought.
I love it. I think it's great. Yeah, everything's going the streaming route. I mean, yeah, I mean, for you, Cass, going from a princess movie straight into a hockey game, that's probably great. Dusty and I, we can go straight to the Winter Soldier and Falcon right after games if needed to. Hernan's kind of shit out of luck, but whatever. Maybe he'll have kids by then and he can watch some cartoons too. But just the fact that Disney, they're going to put a ton of dough into this and make sure it's run properly. And it's name recognition too, as well, I think, right? So when you attach yourself to good, successful people, good things happen.
like The Rock.
Yeah, I was just gonna say The Rock in the CFL. Yeah, that's crazy. I want to see Disney take it to the next level. Like, I want to go to Disneyland and see a Connor McDavid roller coaster. That's the fastest roller coaster in the park. That's what I want to see. I don't know. I mean, other rides that you could come up with for NHL players, but at least get Connor McDavid's face plastered all over Disneyland. That better been a part of the deal. Like, I would like to see that happen.
Yeah, good point, Dusty. Just get exposure to the big names, right?
Yeah, exactly. Just
Virtual
get the big faces
games,
out there.
Yeah. That would be
that type of stuff.
You could have like a fountain for Ovi, like a special fountain at Disney World that you can jump into.
Go swimming.
The Alexander Ovechkin experience.
They can. I mean, when they can really say the Cup winner, you know, where you go, what are you going to do? I'm going to Disneyland, right? That's going to be a huge thing. I'm sure getting the whole team and having a Disneyland parade with Goofy and, I mean, Ovi should just be a stuffed up character there the whole time. That's me. Yeah. Like, just full Mr. T starter kit, no shirt, hairy chest, big beard, and just with a big, huge. Well, I guess he can't have a beer, but whatever. You know what I mean? Yeah, and in the fountain, that's an awesome ride right there.
Yeah, that'd be really good, actually. All right, let's get to keep it or clip it here on Two Guys and a Goalie. Let's start with this one. Tyson Barrie, who has 22 points in 28 games, is going to price himself out of Edmonton next year. Keep it or clip it?
Keep it. That's what he came here for.
Yeah, I got to keep it too, man. Like, he's been damn impressive after a slow start, and Gage said it there. That's what he came here, man. He bet on himself, and that bet's going pretty well right now.
You know what, though? Now that I think about it, maybe he thinks about it depending on the playoff success of the Oilers, right? If they get close, maybe, and you know the team's staying pretty much intact, maybe he thinks about twice then taking another run at it before he goes to Buffalo for $9 million a year and only wins 3 games. So, I'm still going to keep it. He's going to go to Buffalo. Never mind.
Yeah, you got to keep it. Yeah, the difference between $8 million or $9 million and $6 million that the Oilers could afford to give him is pretty big here. Like, they don't have the cap space to pay him what he's going to want. Or even if they do, they're only going to be able to do it for a year or two. Like, you can't sign him to a long-term deal if you're Edmonton, and he's going to get more term somewhere else. So he's doing what he came here to do, which you can't be upset with him about.
Oh, good for him.
And he absolutely is pricing himself out.
Good for him and good for the team. I mean, they're getting everything they expected from him as well from an offensive perspective. Let's stick with the blue line. William Lagesson is the best option alongside Adam Larsson. Keep it or clip it?
Keep it. It's looked great all year. He's been one of the biggest surprises for Edmonton, I think, this year. He's great. He's exactly what they need. Keep it.
I'll clip it. When Russell's playing well, I think Russell, like that Russell Larsson pairing, when they're rolling, they work well together. Veteran guys, pretty steady. Willie Legs has been good, but I still think Russell slides into that spot a little bit better.
Yeah, I love Russ, but I gotta like Willie Lagesson. We talked about it on the post game show. He's not come out of nowhere, but I didn't expect him to play this much. And he's been a pleasant surprise. He's got a little bit of a mean streak too. And I think that's a very good duo. I also like Russ and Larsson, but I'll go with the younger Willie Legs. So I'll keep it.
Question number 3. You guys would be okay with sacrificing the old home and home with every team in the league to have more Canadian matchups next year? Keep it or clip it?
I'll clip it. I like the home and homes with like teams that we don't get to see a lot. Like I want to see Aho and Svetch. I want to see the Crosbys and all that. So, I like the home and homes with every team outside of the ones in their division. So I'll clip it.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Hernan too. It's I don't get me wrong. I love the Canadian division, but just to see how other teams match up against other top teams in the league, just to get that kind of sense what that looks like. I wish I could see something like that.
I'm going to clip it, and I'm going to go. You can do the rotation where for some of those teams, you still want to play them once, but let's just say, if we're picking Anaheim, because Dusty, I think you were talking about this earlier this morning. Maybe they play away in Anaheim once this year and don't play the home game against them, and then next year they play the home game against them and don't play the road game against them. Just as an example, I think you could increase. If you found a way to still let them play everybody at least once in the league, but increase some of the Canadian games, I'd be down for that. Just increase the rivalries a little bit more and the anger a little bit more, and I would be up for that.
You guys have to think this 2-game, 3-game set would be a thing they'd like to continue with moving forward. Do you think doing the 2 games here and there?
I'd love it. I think it's great. It's awesome it feels more like a playoff series, and when you're it has wait till it gets close to the end of the season and you're going into a set of games against a certain team maybe you're going to catch, right? That's going to be really exciting hockey to watch. Or just trying to stay where they are or gaining points on other teams. And just all being in that same division. It's going to be fun to scoreboard watch, I think, with 10 games to go at the end of the regular season.
Final question. I'm not sure if you guys were aware of this, but it's going to blow your mind. We should all pay for a weekend at the actual Yellowstone Ranch. You can do bed and breakfast. Yeah. You can go there. You can stay in Rip's house, and you can ride the ATVs. You can fish in the river. You can ride horses up where they ride horses. Should we do it?
Definitely. Keep it. Let's do this.
I keep watching episodes late right before I go to bed, and I'm going to bed like at 2 a.m. because I can't stop watching that. Like, I'm gonna turn in my. I want to be a cowboy now. Like, I'm gonna go to the Wrangler store after here in West Ed and pick up a few of those. And what a show though! Amazing.
I'll bring Beth. I mean, my wife.
Cass, what do you got?
Take me fishing. Yep. I'm in.
My wife used that phrase that she said the other day to me.
You're the trailer park, I'm the tornado?
Yes. Awesome. God love her.
Such a good show, man. And when I saw that, it's an actual ranch that they shoot at. It's the exact same thing. And when they're not shooting, they've kind of turned it into a little sort of bed and breakfast experience, which is, I don't know. I don't even want to look at the price of it. I'm just going to pretend I could afford to go and keep the dream alive. I think that's the key. That would be awesome.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, that would be pretty good. All right, boys. Well, have a good weekend. We will have more Oilers hockey. Canucks, Leafs, and Jets continue. We'll dive into that a little bit on Monday, especially if the Jets sweep the Leafs. We got a whole nother conversation in this country, which should be pretty interesting as well. Gager, Cass, Hernan, solid episode, boys, and we will chat on Monday. Have a good weekend.
Bye, guys.
Bye.